What is up, and welcome to Shut Up and Cut, your video editing film school. We're diving straight into Adobe Premiere Pro's interface. We're going to look at the most important options in our menu bar, as well as the most used windows and panels that are going to be used in the workspaces that Premiere Pro gives you by default. By the end of this video, you will have a solid understanding of how to navigate and make the most of Premiere Pro and all of its main features. So let's dive in and get started. This is Adobe Premiere Pro's main interface. Now, you can either get really excited seeing this, or you can get absolutely terrified. Regardless, understanding the key components of the interface is going to give you the difference between a fast and a slow editor. The first thing we need to break down is the menu bar. The menu bar is this horizontal strip located at the top of the application window. It contains a bunch of menus, each offering a set of options and commands to perform different tasks within the software. The top 4 menus that you will be using the most are your File, Edit, Sequence, and Window menu options, and the occasional Help menu. All of the other menu options, you're most likely going to be using keyboard shortcut commands, or you're just not going to be using them as often as the main 4. So let's start with the File menu option. This is really just your project management menu. Think of the File menu as a central hub for controlling project-related settings. Things like saving your project, importing media, and really just managing the settings of your project. Another way to think of the File menu is when you play video games and you pause it, and in the pause menu, you can go to Settings. That settings menu is like your file menu settings. That's what the file menu is. Now, the edit menu is for exactly that. It's gonna have a lot of the editing functions and tools that you can use for editing your video on the timeline. This includes things like copy paste, undo, redo. Most of these commands are gonna be accessed using keyboard shortcuts, and we'll talk about that later. But the sequence menu options give you options and functions that are related to creating and managing sequences. A sequence is the thing that contains your video editing decisions. I also call it the timeline. Every sequence or timeline has their own settings, and when you edit projects, you can have multiple variations of sequences or timelines. For example, in one sequence, I can have an edit that uses one song, but in another sequence, I can have a completely different song for the same edit. And so the options are kind of limitless. The last menu option I'm going to break down is your window menu. This provides access to various panels and workspaces within the software. And before we move any further, let's break down those panels and those workspaces. Inside Premiere, you have a bunch of different panels and windows. Each panel and window has a specific function, and there's 8 main panels that I use. The project panel is where you import, organize, and manage your media files. Here, you can also browse and search for files, create folders, and preview different files and assets in your source monitor. Your source monitor is another panel that I use. This displays the selected media clip from the project panel. It allows you to preview and trim raw footage before adding it to the timeline. Now, the timeline panel is the central workspace. This is where you're going to assemble and arrange all of your video clips, your audio clips, effects, and transitions. This is where the meat of your editing takes place. It provides a visual representation of your project's timeline, and it allows you to make precise edits and adjustments that are going to be displayed in something called your program monitor. This is another panel that shows you the edited sequence or timeline that you're working on. It provides a real-time preview of your video and allows you to play, scrub, and make adjustments, or even add effects to your edits. In order to add effects, you need your effects panel. Your effects panel contains a library of video and audio effects, transitions, and presets that you can apply to your clips and sequences. And effects don't have to be anything crazy. Effects can be anything from simple drag and drop dissolves or long animated effects with motion blur that you can control using the effects control panel. And so the effects control panel allows you to adjust and customize these attributes and parameters of these effects so that you can achieve some desired look or result. But something to keep in mind is that this panel is only going to be opened when you've selected your clip on the timeline. So you can use the effects panel to apply effects, and you can use the effect controls panel to control the effects. Makes sense, right? Now, another panel we have is the audio track mixer. This allows you to control and adjust the audio levels and properties of your audio tracks, not the clips, but the tracks that they're on. For example, one of the audio tracks is A1, another one is A2, A3, A4. These are all of your audio tracks, and the audio track mixer allows you to control those. Now, I know the audio track mixer looks crazy, but I use it for more advanced sound editing, which I'm going to break down later in the course. But for now, just know that it exists. But the last panel I use is actually called the toolbar. Not really a panel, but a window that is very important. The toolbar is the collection of the various tools for editing and manipulating your video and audio clips within Premiere. And there's a bunch of them, so let's break those down too. The first one is the selection tool. This is a default tool, and it's used for selecting and moving clips on the timeline. The next one is called your track selection tool. This allows you to select select and move entire tracks or groups of tracks on the timeline. This is very helpful when trying to squeeze in one single clip into your current edit. The next is my favorite, which is the ripple tool. This tool allows you to trim clips and adjust the overall duration of your sequence while automatically maintaining the relationship between all of the clips on the timeline. Meaning, if you move one, you move the others. This tool is what keeps sync in your video as you edit. The next one is the rolling edit tool. This tool lets you adjust the edit point between two clips, simultaneously changing the length of both clips. This one looks like a double red arrow that you can activate by hovering your mouse over the edit point between two clips and holding Command. No matter how much you edit here, the overall duration of your edit will not change. The next one is your rate stretch tool. This allows you to adjust the speed and duration of a clip by dragging the edges on the timeline. So this tool will not activate unless you move it to the edge of your clip where the cut point is. The next one is your razor tool. This is what you use to cut your clips. Once this tool is activated, you can hover this over any point of your video clip, and by clicking, you can make a cut. That's the razor tool. The next one is a slip tool. Now, the slip tool can be kind of confusing if you're just starting out, but what it does is it allows you to adjust the in and out points of a clip while keeping its overall position on the timeline unchanged. When you have a clip on the timeline, it has an in point and it has an out point in the timeline, but it also has an in point and an out point in the source monitor. What you change is the in point and the out point in the source monitor, not the in point and the out point on the timeline. It may sound confusing, but I promise the more you use it, the more it's going to make sense. The next tool is the slide tool. This allows you to move a clip's entire content left or right on the timeline, changing the position within the sequence. The next tool is your pen tool. This tool is used for creating and manipulating keyframes to add animations or effects to certain clips. The next tool is the hand tool. This lets you scroll horizontally and vertically within the timeline when the content extends beyond the visible area. Meaning, with your hand tool selected, if you click in the timeline and drag, it's going to be the same as moving that little horizontal bar at the bottom of your timeline, so you can see more of it. You can also use the hand tool in your program monitor when you're zoomed in more than 50%. This allows you to see the entire area of your program monitor. After the hand tool, we have the zoom tool. This is the last tool I'm going to talk about. This enables you to zoom in and out of your timeline to get a closer look at your clips or view a larger portion of your sequence. And again, you can use this tool in the program monitor by selecting this little drop-down menu here that says fit and changing this to a certain percentage. 10% is going to zoom all the way out, while 400% is going to zoom all the way in, but you can select the ranges you like. Now, those are the main panels, and those are the main tools that you're going to be using inside of Premiere. Now, like I said before, the window menu option provides access to various panels and workspaces. And now that I've told you what the main panels are, let's look at the workspaces. So what's a workspace? A workspace actually refers to the arrangement of these panels, windows, and tools within the application. And said another way, a workspace arranges all of your favorite tools, panels, and windows and things just the way you like them on screen so that you can work easier and find what you need faster. That's the point of a workspace. And inside the window menu option, it offers different types of workspaces for different types of projects or for different stages of your project. For example, if I was ready to work on captions for a YouTube video, I can go up here to Window, go to Workspaces, and select the Captions and Graphics workspace. This is going to bring out all of the panels and windows that are important for doing things like captions and graphics. If I want to do something like adding effects and preset transitions, I can come back up here to Window, go to Workspace, and select Effects. This is going to bring up all the windows and panels that are necessary for creating effects. Now, one of the newest default workspaces from Premiere is the vertical workspace for social media content. So it's definitely good to take advantage of these workspaces. Now, as you play around with all of these panels, you'll notice that some of these panels you can actually move around. For example, if I click and hold the name of the panel and drag my mouse, you can move each individual window wherever you'd like. And if at any point you do this by accident or you no longer like the workspace you're in, you can reset it. If you go up to Window, Workspaces, and down to Reset to save layout, Premiere will reset the default workspace. This is something I learned way too late in my editing journey. Now, you don't have to use the default workspaces Premiere gives you. If you've moved your panels around into a fashion you like, you can actually save that workspace as a custom workspace. To do this, once in your custom workspace, go to Window, Workspaces, and select Save as New Workspace. Then name your workspace whatever you'd like. And once you click OK, you'll see that your workspace is now in the workspace menu. So whenever you want to access that custom workspace, all you have to do is go to Window, Workspaces, and click it. Now, I'm not going to break down how to make an optimal personal workspace right now, mainly because Premiere Pro gives you some pretty good ones that cover 99% of your video editing needs, but in later videos, we are going to take a look at some of the custom situations that you'll find yourself in. So there you have it. There is an overview of the Premiere Pro interface and where to find all the main stuff you're really going to be using as you cut your videos. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to leave a comment in the Facebook group, and I will see you in the next one.